Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Before we start, I want to do some webinar housekeeping. We have a lot of participants today. However, for privacy, we've removed the ability to see any other participants' names on your screen. When you have a question or comment, please type them into the window on your screen, and we'll do our best to address comments and questions during the discussion. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. And we also have several representatives in the Northeastern University booth for live private chat. So thanks again for joining us. This is a webinar for the EDD program, Starting a Doctorate. Is now the right time for you? I'm Neil Horahan. I'm the enrollment coach for the program. I'm sure I've talked to a lot of you. Today we'll hear from Dr. Karen Reese-Medwed, as well as Hattie Mukumbe, who's a current student in the program. Just to go over the agenda for the day, we'll learn about our doctoral degree, who our doctorate students are. We'll hear from Hattie, a student perspective, and then I'll go into making your decision a reality and where you can go from here. So on that note, I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Reese-Medwed, and she'll talk to you a little bit about the program.
Thank you so much, Neil, and welcome everybody. It is so exciting to know that you are here looking into a doctoral degree program, first and foremost because I am sure that for some of you, this is a real fulfillment of a lifelong dream, thinking about the opportunity, entertaining the possibility of getting your doctorate. And for some of you, earning a doctorate might seem like the thing you have to do tomorrow, and for others, it's something you're just quietly contemplating. And we're here to really help you fill in those pieces and think about why this is such a valuable piece to add to your repertoire, why we love our program so much as faculty and as students, and why we want to share that opportunity with you as well. Let me tell you a little bit about what makes our Doctor of Education program so unique, and it really starts with you. It starts with our student body, because every single member of our student body are seasoned professionals, seasoned 3 years or seasoned for 30 years, but professionals. And our work is modeled on the notion of apprenticeship, that you stay in your place of practice and you enter into conversations with the academic and research world at a doctoral level, because it is that particular conversation that is so important for you as a change agent to be able to discern how you take the world of knowledge that is at your feet and use it to make a difference in the world. And so we talk about our program in the Doctor of Education as a bridge, the bridge between theory and practice, the bridge between the regular routine of work and transformational work, the space in which you engage your passions to purposefully and collaboratively seek out others who will help you make change happen. It's exciting work. It's exciting work because we get to partner across so many different areas and so many different fields, so that the venues in which our students are working are all so unique and rich, and yet we all come together in these conversations and support one another in making sure that each and every one of you has the possibility and the toolkit to make that change happen. It's an iterative process, so a doctoral degree is not linear. You're not going to go from step A to step D, but you're going to, in an ongoing fashion, continuously revisit certain skills and certain possibilities that will allow you to grow yourself. And so you see in each point in this circle that you come in from your place of practice with your problem of practice, from that admission statement that you'll write to apply to the program, and all the way through until your doctoral degree. And you'll explore problems within your place of practice. You'll learn how we bring together theory and research specifically to your work, so that you become the authority. You become the voice that understands most deeply what this meaning of practice is all about and how that problem can be transformed. And as you come to implementations, you learn how you can take the next step to make a difference. And that carries you all the way through, not just to the moment in which you earn your doctoral degree, but beyond, so that your capacity for this work takes you into the next step of your career, continuing to make change and transformation in your places of practice, in your workforce. We have many students in our Doctor of Education program. That is one of the things that makes us such a vibrant and exciting space to learn in. There are many opportunities to collaborate with one another, and everyone can find somebody else who's engaged in questions that are similar to their own, so that you're not in isolation, working in an academic island, but really in a collaborative environment, leaning on, supporting one another, learning with and from one another. Here are just a few examples of some of our wonderful students. And what a great opportunity for faculty to know our students so intimately. It's that give and take that's so rich in this program. So in Massachusetts, we have a wonderful, wonderful classroom teacher full of innovative ideas, and she has been working on her thesis around a very unique STEM problem-based learning practice in which engineers who are retired in the community come back from the workforce into the classroom and work with middle school students to grow their STEM knowledge. And so her work in her thesis, while in a classroom environment, is also around organizational leadership and how we harness our workforce beyond the retirement age to continue to be a pipeline for education. Down south, we have the executive director of Georgia State YMCA. And he is writing, and we wish him the best of luck, almost defending this month, a thesis about civic education for adolescents in the nonprofit educational arena. The work he has done has taken him to the state capitol, where he has now run a collaborative program with Georgia State Board of Education, in which they've engaged 350 eighth grade teachers in the Georgia education system who came with him to the state capitol, and through a partnership program, he was able to advance civic education for middle school students in the state of Georgia. He used both the work from his thesis and work from his courses to get him to a place where he could initiate these collaborative opportunities, and his thesis work is reflective of the kinds of programs he's now going to be running. In Alabama, there's an executive director of a new nonprofit. He is an entrepreneurial nonprofit for released incarcerated men. His thesis work was around their reintegration into the workforce. He's using his thesis work to continue to solicit funding from some philanthropic organizations. And his thesis really gave voice to these men to better understand what their needs were upon reentry to society. And then up in the Northwest, we have a high school principal of a Title I school for early elementary who has really been driven by the belief that growing the school's physical space to be a full elementary school program with a teacher leadership distributed model would be the best way to turn around her school. Her thesis is a case study of that turnaround scenario. She's been using moments in her coursework to be able to grow the professional development, to bring her teachers on board, and again, has both advanced the school and her own learning. In each of these cases, they come from very different fields. These are students at different, though towards the end of their program at this point, who have been able to come in and address their problems of practice with the learning they've gained through collaborative conversations with classmates, through work that they have done with different teachers, and then at the point of their doctoral thesis have entered into a mentor relationship with their advisor, who has been able to support not only their research, but also encouraging them to think about the day after their doctoral thesis defense, when they are celebrating becoming a doctor of education, how they continue their work to make a difference in the workforce, to make a difference in their place of practice, to make a difference in society as we know it. It's always great, I'm sure, to hear from a faculty member, but from my perspective, there's no better speaker for our program than our own students. And I am always thrilled because I have opportunities to get to know so many different students along the way, both in my teaching and in my doctoral thesis advising. one very unique student is Hattie Makumbe, and I am thrilled to pass this on to her.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Reese-Medwood. My name is Hattie Makumbe. I am so excited to talk to you a bit about your interest in the Northeastern program. By way of background, I am from North Carolina originally, attended my undergraduate degree in North Carolina, received my master's in North Carolina as well. So North Carolina through and through for me. I currently work as the Associate Dean of Diversity Admissions at Wake Forest, and so I'm currently employed at a school in North Carolina. And so for me, I've been in higher education for quite some time, and it's something that I'm really deeply passionate about. And so I really wanted to continue my studies and go on to receive my doctoral degree. And doing so, it was really important for me to choose a program that met my professional needs as well as personal needs. And so I was looking for a program that was certainly very reputable, very rigorous, a program that I knew that I would grow a lot in, both from an academic standpoint and professionally. And Northeastern really ticked all those marks for me. And so I'll tell you a bit about some of the things that I really love about the university. There are three things that really stand out for me. First concerns the structure. From day one, you are digging right into the research, your research interests, your research passions. Yes, you will have a general curriculum through Northeastern, but even through that curriculum, you are encouraged to deeply explore the things that you are personally passionate about. And for me, that has been really enriching and fulfilling in terms of workplace application. I find myself looking at the readings, I find myself looking at our assignments and applying them directly in my own place of practice. And that has been really transformative for me through my experience. From the very beginning, I remember in my first term, professors asked us quite directly, what is it about education? What is it about your profession and the things that you do that outrages you? And that question, it really showed me that Northeastern was the place that was going to allow me to think critically about what I do professionally and how I might be a change agent and be an effective change agent at that. But it also pushed me to think about what I was doing about my outrage. It's not enough to just be outraged about something, but to explore and discover ways that you might be an effective change agent in that process. And the assignments through the Northeastern experience has certainly been beneficial to me in that regard. The second thing that I really love and appreciate about the Northeastern program concerns the students at the university. Northeastern attracts students who are really driven, really dedicated to their studies, and really passionate about the learning experience. And with that, they bring those passions to the table. And we all push each other, we all challenge one another in the discussion boards, we engage in really meaningful and interactive discussions, which I think is critically important because as you look forward to what you hope to accomplish as a scholar practitioner, you hope to be armed with the resources to be effective in that. And so having classmates who don't always agree with your perspective and who don't always share your vision for things, I think is important because it allows you to prepare for what comes next when you enter the world as a doctor. There will be times where individuals don't always agree with what you're saying or share your same point of view. And so engaging with your peers in a way that prepares you for those real life experiences, I think is really important. Northeastern is really global as well. The students who are attracted to the university come from all over. And as I mentioned before, I am from North Carolina. I've lived here all of my life. And so for me, being able to interact with students across the world, not just within the US, but across the globe, it's been really, really important and really powerful. I know what I know to be true in education based on my own experiences and certainly based on my knowledge of education, for instance, within North Carolina, but being able to gain a new perspective from individuals who live across the U.S. and live in a different country is really powerful. To this day, I still communicate by email, but still communicate with peers, with one of my peers in Hong Kong, which is nice to be able to shoot her an email and get her perspective or opinion on something that I'm still following. And there's a peer of mine in Boston that we text periodically back and forth with one another about current event topics that we share a common interest with. And we're not in the same course right now, but we were able to build a meaningful connection through a previous course, which I think is important. I mean, you're building lifelong networks through the Northeastern experience because it's such a global program. So that's been really important to me as a student. And last but certainly not least, my favorite aspect about Northeastern concerns are professors. I have probably had more meaningful interactions and engaging interactions through this online program than I've had in some of my more traditional classroom experiences. And your professors are really there. They're really supportive. They are really engaged in your learning experience. And you grow a lot, and you know that they're in tune to what you're writing, they're in tune to how you're interpreting what you're reading, because they respond and they offer feedback, and I think that's really, really important to you as a student. This is an incredible journey, and it's nice to know that you have professors who are there right along with you to support you in that journey, to grow with you in that journey. It's more of a partnership, honestly, between students and faculty members, and just knowing that you have individuals there to support you and root for you through the process has been incredibly important to me as a doctoral student. So I could go on and talk about Northeastern all day long, but I do want to pass it on to our enrollment coach, Neil, who will share with you some next steps about the process.
All right, thank you very much, Hattie, and Dr. Reese-Medwed. That was great to hear from you both about your both experiences and the faculty view of the program. I know when I speak to a lot of you out there that you really want to hear from students and from faculty members. So it's really helpful to get get information from them specifically. So now, where do you go from here? As you heard from Dr. Reese-Medwed and Hattie McCumbey, they kind of told you what a typical student looks like, and if the program is a good fit for you, you can kind of get that from what you heard from both of them. As for format and structure, a good fit for your learning style, most of the program is done online, as I'm sure you've read. The only difference, or the only in-person, excuse me, would be the residency requirements. These vary depending on which campus you're on. If you're going through the Boston campus, there are 2 summer residencies. Each one is a week long, one in your first summer quarter, one in your second summer quarter. If you're doing the Northwest Regional Campus in Seattle, you would have 2 weekend residencies in your first 2 quarters through the program, and the same thing goes for the Charlotte campus in our Southeast Regional Campus. As for people that are in the program, obviously you heard from Hattie, we do have a lot of working professionals. That's another question I get a lot. I would say 95% of the people going through the program are working full-time. So I know a lot of people are worried about working full-time and taking the program, as well as having families. We do have a lot of people with families as well. So there's a really wide array of people that are in the program. So if you think it's the right fit for you, then that's great. They're looking for motivated people that are looking to take on a new challenge and impact change. So if this is something that excites you, which I'm sure most of you are, then it's definitely a good fit for you. So what I'm going to move on to now is kind of some general information about the program deadlines and things like that. The next intakes that we have for Boston would be the winter quarter, which begins in January. And we also have a winter start for our Southeast Regional Campus in Charlotte for winter. And then we also have a spring start in next year of 2015 in our Northwest Seattle campus. Deadline days for these, Boston and Charlotte they both have a November 15th deadline date for applications. And then the Seattle campus, the Northwest Regional Campus, February 1st will be the deadline date for applications there. So we just need everything in by those dates, and we can get you in for a review. Now, as I'm sure most of you have seen on site, the admissions requirements are laid out there for you. There's an online application. Pretty much almost everything can be done online through the online application other than the transcripts. Transcripts need to be sent to us, the official copies, undergraduate and graduate. There's an admission statement that's on there. There's 2 questions to be answered. One asks you to describe the specific problem of practice that Dr. Reese-Medwood actually spoke to a little bit, as well as Hattie. And then the second question is more of a personal statement and how you've been prepared to take the doctoral study. So we do want to see both of those questions answered in one. You can put it in one document, but just make sure they're separated. The faculty reviewers do like to see that separation when they're reviewing the applications. There's also the resume. We need your resume. 3 letters of recommendation. There's 1 faculty and 2 professional recommendations. The faculty recommendation is required for people that have finished their master's degrees in the last 5 years. If it's past that date or it's further out than that, then you can just do the 3 professional recommendations. And then the last thing is the minimum of 3 years of professional experience in related fields. As you heard from Dr. Medwood and from Hattie, there's a large variation of people with different professional experience, but we do want you to have that 3 years at least. So that's something just to keep in mind. So now what we'll do is we'll go through some of the questions that we've got through the webinar so far. Thank you very much for everybody for posting those questions. Just to let you know, for now, the recording of this webinar will be posted online October 30th. So if you do want to go back and hear it again or get some more information on that, then feel free to click on that link once we have it. If you want more information on the program itself, admissions requirements, curriculum, anything like that, feel free to follow that link that you see there. We'll leave this up on screen so you can take it down if you need to do that. Follow-up questions you can direct to me at c.horahan@neu.edu, or you can call that number there. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about the enrollment process or the program or anything like that. And then our mailing address is right there. So that mailing address will also be on the online application. So if you do, can't write it down now, then it'll be there. So what we'll do is go through some of the questions that you have posted here. So right now I'll just go through some of these quick questions for you that we've heard so far. A good question that we received is, what's the typical cohort size? From what I've seen and from what we've heard, depending on when you start, you're probably going to have about 25 to 30 people to start the class when you're in there. That'll go down maybe a little bit once you start getting into the concentrations. That's usually what we see. Another question was, do I get a program advisor? You do once you start. If you are accepted into the program, what we'll do is you'll be assigned a student advisor who will help you sign up for classes and go through that whole process and help you get the right path for you when you're going. So I think I want to pass this next question off to Dr. Reese-Medwood. We have a question saying, when do I need to decide on my thesis? So I'm going to have Dr. Reese-Medwood answer that question, if she doesn't mind.
Happy to answer that. Your application to this program is actually a really important essay that you're going to write, because you're going to start to think about that thesis question right then and there, which isn't to say that you aren't going to change the topic 20 different times. But we like to give you this example of the cocktail party. So you're walking into that cocktail party and someone says, so what do you do? And you tell them about your work, and then you say, oh, and I'm also a doctoral student in Northeastern University's Doctor of Education program. And they say, wow, what's the work you're doing? And you pause. You want a title. You want to have some direction, and we want you to have that direction from the get-go, because we want you to keep revisiting that question so that by the time you reach the doctoral thesis point, you're not scrambling to find a topic, but you feel really good about narrowing the area in which you want to do that research so that you are sharp, ready to go. And so this is part of you growing your voice. From that moment when you apply to the program, start to think about, what is that problem going to be? What is that passion I have? What is that little concern? Because not all of you live in a world of passion the way some of us can get a little dramatic about it. but what is it that you want to work on? Where is the question that you seriously feel like you could live with for the next 3 years, 5 years of your life and not get sick of it? And then you will get the opportunity at the end of coursework to really drill down into the details of that work in your research courses, and then at the end, with your advisor assigned to you after your research courses, be able to go full swing into the doctoral thesis. And I'll hand that right back to you, Neil.
Thanks, Dr. Reese-Medwed. That was great. I'll post another quick question. Actually, I'd like to ask one for Hattie. This would be a question for you. Since you chose our Northeastern University EDD program, what made you choose this program over other programs that you were maybe looking at when you were trying to decide? What made this, kind of speak to you more than others?
All right, thank you. So yeah, I looked at quite a few programs actually. I knew that I wanted the online platform. Given the nature of my work, I knew that I needed an online platform for my doctoral studies. But beyond that, reputation was really actually important to me. I wanted a program that had a great brand, had a great presence, if you will, certainly within education. But more than that, I wanted a program that would push me and challenge me from the very beginning. Having that presence of rigor was certainly really important to me in the program. And from what I read online, from the webinars that I attended as well, Northeastern seemed to check all of those boxes for me. And then I also wanted a program that, as Dr. Reese-Medwed mentioned, that would allow me to kind of tackle those challenges and those concerns or passions that I have within education from the very, very beginning. I had, a general perspective of, things that I was concerned about within education, and so being able to dig into that research from the very, very beginning, as opposed to kind of taking courses and then maybe looking at, writing your research after you've completed your coursework. I didn't want that type of platform. I wanted something that would allow me to kind of dig into it from day one. That way I could kind of build upon it from day one and build upon the research from the very beginning. And so that was a critical component in my decision factor. Passing it back to you, Neil.
Thanks, Hattie. That was great. Appreciate you answering that question. So I'll go through another couple questions that I'll be able to answer here. One of the questions we received is, do I choose a campus based on where I want to go for residency, and is there do each have the same format? Covered this a little bit before, but the residencies are a little bit different depending on which campus you go to. As I stated before, the summer residencies would be in Boston. There's a total of 2 weeks that you'd be on campus. 1 week in your first summer quarter and a second week in your second summer quarter. For instance, if you started in January going through the Boston campus, you would be on campus summer of 2015 for a week, and then again summer 2016 for a week. If you were to go to either the Northwest Regional, through the Northwest Regional cohort in Seattle, you would be on campus, on the Seattle campus, for 2 weekends in your first 2 quarters in the program. And then the same thing goes for the Charlotte campus. So that's the difference between the 2 residencies. So depending on which campus you apply to and are accepted to, you would have to follow the residencies for each of those campuses. Another question would be, is the curriculum set, or do you pick your classes? The curriculum is set for the first 2 quarters. If you're going through the Northwest Regional cohort in Seattle or the Charlotte campus, Southeast Regional cohort, you would follow the same. You would be in a true cohort format for both of those campuses to start through the first 2 quarters. You do the residencies on campus in those first 2 quarters, and then after that you would join the rest of the program online after that. For the Boston program, you would start off with the foundation courses. You do have to start off with some of those foundation courses to begin, but once you get past those, you can kind of choose your own path. But again, you'll have a student advisor to help you sign up for specific classes and take the right direction as well. So, oh, this is a good question. When's the next start after January? So after the January start, we'll have a fall start. So like I said earlier, through the Boston campus, we're offering a winter cohort in January as well as in Charlotte. And then for Seattle, there's one in spring. So after those, the next start will be fall, which will be September. So if you can't make that, if you can't apply towards the winter, then you can apply towards the fall after that. And we should have all deadline dates and things like that for the fall within the next few months. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. I appreciate the questions. Again, if anything didn't get answered for you and you do want to ask more questions, we do have the forum, the live chat forum that people will be asking or answering more questions for you. So thanks again for joining us, and I hope this was helpful for your information.